Beijing's Bird's Nest. The Beijing Olympic National Stadium is located in Beijing, China. It was constructed for the 2008 Olympic Games. It was a difficult structure to engineer and construct. With the help of artists IEYY, the architects came up with a design that resembled an ancient Chinese pot, circular in nature. Because the twisting beams resembled twine formed into a nest, the stadium was given the nickname the Bird's Nest. With a simple level plumb building, the forces of gravity are naturally dispersed through the framing members down into the ground and into the foundation, with little force being generated horizontally. With the National Stadium, the forces want to go all over in different directions, horizontally and vertically. During construction, there were 3 phases that needed to be completed: the foundation, the precast concrete, the steel fabrication, and the cushion system that forms the facade. The foundation system was a concrete pile system. Essentially, there were huge footings that were dug and then poured with concrete. First, though, the holes had to be laid out to coincide with the framing trusses. Then the holes were dug and then tied with rebar, and now they were ready to be poured. The engineers wanted to further strengthen the foundation and the surrounding ground. To do this, the engineers decided to increase the surface area of the footings by pumping concrete into the surrounding ground. The engineers had the footings poured with long hollow tubes that stretched the entire length of the footing, with weep holes at the bottom of the footing, so there was an outlet on the tube. The footings were poured and then the tubes were kept hollow, and while the concrete was set up, they poured a milky mixture of concrete into the hollow tubes, and the theory behind this was that the viscous, milky mixture of concrete would leak out of the tubes and into the surrounding ground, further strengthening the ground around the footings while tying and anchoring the foundation right into the surrounding environment. The precast concrete was used for the interior seating system. The concrete was used to form the bowl, which was the seating for the stadium. Over 14,700 prefab slabs made up the seating sections. The stadium's footprint was circular in nature, which means that there was very little room for error. Every concrete slab, along with every piece of steel, had to be ordered in advance. The whole layout was drawn, the appropriate software to create models. At one point, the designers were not happy with the steepness of the seating and wanted to change the angle from a 35-degree angle to a 30-degree angle. The outcome naturally was the cost would be greatly increased. So once the owners saw the added cost, they opted to stay with the 35-degree angle as planned. These concrete slabs were engineered to fit perfectly. The Chinese wanted this building to make them stand out as builders among different countries. These concrete slabs had 2 millimeters of play before they would throw the rest of the connections off. The engineers were just relying on software. Everything had to fit just right. The aesthetics of this building are incredible. The exposed steel members twist and curve in a seemingly random pattern. That is the appearance the architects Herzog and Warren wanted to project. It's the world's largest steel structure of unwrapped steel. The stadium was built with earthquakes in mind due to a recent earthquake that destroyed local buildings. The erectors were dealing with beams that were prefabbed in a factory that were as long as 313 meters when they were finally put together. Not only was there extra steel put into the design, they developed an extremely pure form of steel named Q35. It took several tries, but when they got this mixture of steel perfect, they stuck with it. So this building has 70,000 tons of some of the purest steel there is. The more pure the steel is, the stronger the steel is. In the original plans, there was to be a retractable roof installed. Those plans were soon canned by the government due to cost-saving measures. The government helped fund the remainder of the project to make sure that it would be built. The structure stands 7 stories high. When the erectors were getting ready to put the roof into place, they constructed the roof trusses lower than they were to be placed because they had to have room to install all the random pattern steel beams. The workers would sit high up in a chair in a harness and weld and fabricate the beams that made up the roof system. And when the whole roof system was constructed lower than where it needed to be, now it was time to lift it into place. They used specially designed hydraulic jacks to slowly jack the roof system into place. After it was installed, the next step would be to remove the supports and jacks to see if the structure would support its own weight. When the workers removed the supports, the National Stadium was now supporting itself. Now that the building was constructed, the facade had to be installed to protect the inhabitants of the building. They used a material called ETFE, ethylene tetrafluoroethylene. They formed the ETFE into cushions and then put them into the spaces between the intertwined steel members. These cushions could inflate and deflate depending on the conditions outside. The building was divided into 8 zones, each having its own stability system to control the cushions. The building uses natural airflow to help ventilate the structure by blocking the wind with the cushions. They can regulate how much air is coming into the building with these cushions. Some other green aspects of this building is that it has a rainwater collection system, has a geothermal heat pump that absorbs the heat and cold from the soil, and it also uses natural light as a light source. On top of the opening where the retractable roof was supposed to be, there's a translucent roof made up of the same material used to construct the cushions, the ETFE. In the design of this building, the Chinese wanted to impress the world. The architects and artists wanted this building to show coming generations, quote, how a generation thought, unquote.